The Queen of Style, written and illustrated by Carolyn and Mark Buenher. This book is really great for kids because it has a strong moral and an easy-to-follow storyline and plenty of entertaining pictures. The moral of the story is that you can do much more than you think you can. There once was a queen who ruled over a very small kingdom of farmers and sheep. Every day the queen, whose name was Sophie, would sit on her throne and wait for someone to come in with a problem. The sheep were well behaved, and so were the farmers, so there was not many problems. But Queen Sophie had nothing to do and was very, very bored. Sophie called for the jester. "Amuse me," she commanded. The jester did his best. Day after day he told jokes, juggled balls, or somersaulted, until there was nothing left for him to do. Then they were both bored. "Can't you do something?" asked Queen Sophie. "No," answered the jester. "Can't you?" The queen had to think about that. "I don't know how to do anything but be the queen," she told him, as he packed up his bags to leave. "Then learn," he said. "Goodbye." Sophie thought about what the jester had said. It would be nice to be able to do something besides sit around and be the queen. But what? She searched through all her old message scrolls, she pored over all the old books in the castle, and finally, one day, Sophie spotted an ad for something that seemed to be just what she was looking for. Royal College of Beauty, Correspondence Course. Learn the art of beautifying in 12 easy lessons. Amazing new styles. Enroll now! "I certainly will," said the queen, and she sent away for the lessons immediately. Sophie was excited when the supplies from the beauty school arrived. She couldn't wait to get started. Every night she stayed up late studying. She memorized directions for cutting, curling, coloring, and plucking. But one part of the lessons had the queen stumped. She was supposed to practice each lesson 50 times, on 50 different people. How would she ever do that? She didn't know 50 people. But she did know 50 people. They were all in her kingdom, and they would just have to help their queen. Sophie wrote a proclamation and tacked it up on every tree in the kingdom. It read, "Everyone come to the castle tomorrow. Queen's orders." When Sophie opened the castle doors the next morning, all of the people of the kingdom were there waiting. "Right this way," the queen said. One by one she had each person sit down in a chair while she went around and pinned a sheet around their necks and wet down their hair. Then she lifted up her shiny scissors and slowly began to chop. Chop, chop. Snip, snip. She cut the hair of all the men and women. Chop, snip. It was much harder than it looked in the drawings. She cut the hair of all the girls and then the hair of all the boys. When she was through cutting, the castle floor was covered in hair. But the queen hadn't been bored once all day. She had enjoyed herself so much that she didn't want to stop. So she went outside and trimmed up all the sheep. A few days later, Sophie was ready to practice her next lesson. Again she rode around the kingdom and tacking up notices on all the trees. This time, Queen Sophie curled the hair of everyone in the kingdom. She rolled and steamed the hair of all the men, women, boys, and girls. She didn't notice the grumbling of the men. She was too busy. And when she was finished with the people, she curled all the wool of all the sheep. The next week the queen tacked up another notice. When everyone came, Sophie took them by the hand. She soaked and filed, buffed and painted, until everyone had been manicured to perfection. When she finished working on all the farmers' fingernails, she went out to look at the sheep. It was difficult, but she managed to prettify their hooves. A little. The queen was singing when she went to bed. She had never had so much fun. All through the summer, Queen Sophie worked on her course. Every week she commanded her subjects to come to the palace. The queen had been working so hard she almost didn't notice how much she had learned. She hardly realized that she had developed a flair for style. She almost spent all her time studying for her final exam. She tacked up commands almost daily. One morning, Queen Sophie could hear the rumble of voices outside before she even opened the castle doors. All of her subjects were gathered, and they did not look happy. "Yes? Is there a problem?" the queen asked. A burly man stepped forward. "The problem, your majesty, is you. I don't want to come to the castle every other day to have my eyelashes dyed or curled. I've got sheep to tend." "That's right," called a woman. "I've got no need to have my chin shaved. I need to be spinning wool." Sophie was devastated. She had been having so much fun that she had not noticed the others were not. When the crowd finally fell silent, the Queen finally spoke. "I'm sorry," she said. "You don't have to come here anymore. I didn't mean to bother you. I guess I thought you were enjoying everything as much as I was." The people looked at each other. Then the big farmer stepped forward again. "I don't like curling, but I do like my beard trimmed." "And I'd like to have my hair dyed," shouted a woman in the back. Then the others began to call out, "I want my nails done. I'd like to have my hair curled. I'd like a shave. Now and again." The Queen looked at the farmers standing there. Her farmers. "From this time forth," Queen Sophie proclaimed, "just come to the castle when you want to. I promise that from now on I will do your bidding." Then one day there was a letter on everyone's doorstep. It read, "I'm finally graduating. Yes, it's true. I'm glad for all I've learned to do. Couldn't have made it through without you. Come to my party and bring your sheep too." The party was a great success. As Queen Sophie circulated around the courtyard, she realized that she had gained something more important than a license as a beautician. She had friends. She knew who was expecting a baby and whose grandmother had been sick, who was visiting from out of town. She had gotten to know each sheep, too. She had almost forgotten about being queen. It didn't really seem very important anymore. The farmers didn't forget. They were proud when they went to market with their beautiful wives and handsome children, but it was the spectacular sheep that brought real fame to Sophie, who became known from kingdom to kingdom ever after as the Queen of Style.